Hi everybody, Nick McDonald here. Welcome to this week's ICE commentary update on the dollar index and currency markets. Let's start with the daily chart and just have a little look at what happened. So we identified 78 as potential support level if price continued down, which was the probability last week being in a daily chart downtrend. We came down, we broke lower lows, we've come down and we've tested just above 78. I think we got to about 78.12 and now we're rallying again. So we've maintained the downtrend, we're still looking down. We have just reconfirmed 78 as a good support and resistance point, and now we've rallied back up. And actually, if we came in here and we drew a Fibonacci line from this most recent swing high down to the swing low, you'll see, and let's just zoom in on that so you can see the numbers. You'll see that right now we've pulled back to around about the 61.8%, which is right, just a healthy pullback in a downtrend. So looking at a daily chart, the fact we've come down, found support as expected, now rallying. We've had a 61.8% rally off the move down. We're at a point here where we expect the price to turn around and continue back down. There's also a little bit of price action support and resistance through this point. Just looking back as we're zoomed in, a bit of support and resistance there. So expecting price to turn around at this point and continue back down. So that's just purely based on the daily chart there. Now, also just looking at the daily, if we do break down, where are we likely to get to? 78, probably less likely to add too much support on the next attempt, considering that the US dollar is quite bearish. But if we did find support there, then obviously we'd start to reassess things. But the probability here is to put in a lower high, break 78 at the next attempt, and be continuing down lower, maybe even probably making a few lower highs before eventually getting down and testing 77 as the next point. But that's just the daily chart. Let's just come and have a look at it on a weekly chart. So the weekly chart still happens to be the one which is throwing a little bit of doubt on the situation in terms of we're still making higher lows through here. Made a higher low, we've made a higher high, we're pulling back. We can't quite call this a low yet, but if the price did rally from here and did break up above 80 and up above this high of 2 weeks ago, then it would be considered a high. Sorry, it would be considered a higher low, and actually the weekly chart would be bullish. But the reason this is still contradictory is because the monthly is very bearish. The monthly's made a significantly lower high here as well as lower lows, and actually in the very longer term is predicting a move or projecting a move down below 74. So we've got a very bearish monthly chart, a clear and clean downtrend on a daily chart, both showing bearishness, but the weekly chart is still not quite in agreement, still not quite playing ball. It's not completely contradicting either, because it actually has moved into very short-term downtrend here, but the longer term, the big highs and lows are very much at the moment still in an uptrend. So waiting for the weekly to play catch up, but it actually is looking to me based on this, we're always going to take the highest time frame, and then we're also looking at a daily, which is significant. The probability here is looking still to the downside. We've got to watch this, and if we're wrong here and price bounces right up and does not make a lower high but bounces, well then the next line of defense is really 80, and even if it gets as far as 80, it's still fine because it will still be a lower high than this previous low swing high, which is 80.24. However, if we break up above this high, above 80.24, then we're going to have a different situation, because we're going to have a weekly chart confirming an uptrend and a daily chart with no clear trend. So that's the other scenario here, is that probability is price will go down. However, if we did break up through 80, and then if we did break up through 80.24 above this high here, then we'd have a scenario where there was quite a lot of indecision coming back in. We'd have to reassess things next week. Probability, though, is a move to the downside. There's another reason why the dollar index has not fallen as far as it maybe could have, and looking at where a lot of the strength is coming from dollar yen. So have a look at this dollar yen chart and have a look at the month of Feb. So this is right back at the start of Feb. The absolute low of this move was the first day of Feb. And look at this, how much dollar yen has rallied. Now dollar yen has a significant weighting in the dollar index, and therefore when you see the US dollar so strong versus the Japanese yen like this, it's going to be putting some upward pressure on the dollar index itself. So let's come back and quickly have a look at the dollar index for that same period of time, i.e. the whole month of February, and we can see sideways to in fact a slight downward bias during that month. However, in the last little bit here, we've started to see a bit more of a push up, and a lot of that is to do with dollar yen strength. So a sensible thing here to do as well, coming back and looking at dollar yen, is to think, well, where might dollar yen run into trouble? Where might things slow down on here? Having a look at this on a weekly chart, we've actually just broken up through 80, which was really good support and resistance on the dollar yen. We broke up above it, we came back and tested it and bounced right off it. So really the next level where dollar yen looks like it could pull back is up around 84. So there's potential for quite a bit of upward pressure here continuing on dollar yen, which will probably, if anything, just stop the dollar index from falling as hard as it could otherwise. I.e., if dollar yen was not this strong, then the dollar index would have probably fallen significantly further than it has. But actually, this is keeping it propped up a little bit, even though the dollar is weak versus some of the other currencies in the basket. So if we just come back and look at this on the dollar index now, and sum things up, there is likely to be that little bit more upward pressure from dollar yen on the dollar index that could even push us up towards 80. I really don't think it's going to push us beyond. If we do that, we'll reassess next week. But as it stands, I think we should make a lower high somewhere between where we are now, around 79.50 and 80. Probability being around about where we are now. Continuing down, my expectation is we'll break 78 and continue lower, and that the dollar index is likely to be going lower in the longer term. The weekly chart will catch up soon and start to show a downtrend as well, and the momentum all looks to be down. Obviously, if we are wrong on that, or if I'm wrong on that, and next week we're up above 80, we'll have a look at it again, but it will be becoming a much messier chart in that scenario, simply because we'd have a daily indecisive, a weekly uptrend, and a monthly downtrend. So while I never really personally as a trader mind if markets go up or down, what I do like is agreement, and most of our agreement is at the moment to the downside, and therefore the probability is that will continue, and that's what I hope for as a trader as well, that we stay in agreement most importantly, because that's when we get the best trading opportunities. Right now to the short side, that's where I'll be trading this week, looking for short trades around about the current levels. Happy trading all, have a wonderful week, speak to you next time.